Get ready.
This is the voice of Wayne America.
Lighten up, Francis.
With your host,
Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here.
Mike Carnes.
How do you measure yourself with other golfers?
My height.
Only at WayneAmerica.com.
The supernova's gonna kill us all.
Okay, this guy is the real zero, that's true. Just think back when you guys were freshmen, huh?
.com.
Greetings and welcome to the Voice of Wayne America podcast, and exclusive here on WayneAmerica.com. I'm Mike Carnes, your host, and we are here to talk about things going on here in Wayne America, the best town in all of America. And on this edition of the Voice of Wayne America podcast, it's the third and final in a series of podcasts that we're doing regarding the upcoming elections here in Wayne. Now, we've already had our podcast with our two races for the City Council on Ward 4, Jill Roderson and Jesse Hansen, and on Ward 1, Chris Whaler and Rod Grieve. And we figured we'd save the biggest seat for last, and that's the race for the mayor of Wayne. And the races come down between Cale Giese and Pat Melena. And we've got both of them here with us on the podcast to talk about the mayoral seat and what they would like to accomplish if they are elected mayor on Tuesday, November 6th. And we'll start with Pat. Pat, tell us a little bit about yourself, and I guess we'll start with that.
All right. Well, thanks. Appreciate your reaching out to us and giving us the opportunity to speak. I know that Cale appreciates it too. As for me, I'm Pat Melena. I'm a lifelong member of the Wayne community. Graduated from Wayne High in 1984, Wayne State in 1988. I've always been very active in the community. I feel that's not only my right, it's my responsibility. For most of my adult years, the last 29 anyway, I've been working for Michael Foods in Wakefield, Nebraska, and residing in Wayne. In a number of leadership roles with Michael Foods. In a lot of different capacities. As far as governmental work, I've been chairman of the Wayne Planning Commission since 2011, been a member of that committee since 2005. My attempt, or what I want to do as mayor, is bring both my business leadership experience and my city government experience together and to the office of mayor. I'm going to bring a common sense approach, responsible spending, transparency throughout the process, decision making based on the facts that are presented, and do what's best for the community and not necessarily individuals. So again, thank you for having us, and appreciate everyone out there listening.
Okay. Cale, introduce yourself.
Yeah, like Mike just introduced, I'm Cale Giese. I grew up on a farm just north of town. Went to school here, attended Wayne High, where I received an excellent education. Really can't talk good enough about that. And then after graduation, I went on to Wayne State College and graduated there. I took a job just out of college with Beck Ag. That's an internet-based company here in town. And after about a year, an opportunity arose to enter the family business, which is the grain elevator. And I worked there full time. I also own Godfather's Pizza. And during that time, I also jumped on City Council, where I've served for 6 years, and I serve on a number of committees, subcommittees for the council. So yeah, I want to use my local government business experience to make Wayne even better, because let's face it, Wayne is a pretty great place to live. Great place to work, great place to raise a family or go to school. And I think we can do that by, constantly assessing that delicate balance of taxation and making Wayne an attractive place to live. So as mayor, really working to make sure that the council's prepared to make those decisions that we face, because Wayne's got a number of really big decisions coming up in the next 5 to 10 years.
All right. We'll get into the questions here, and Cale, we'll start with you on this one. What has inspired you to run not only for this office, but for this being on the city council? What inspired you to want to get involved in city government?
Well, originally, I was pretty fresh out of college, and I'd grown up in the community. I felt like I was really familiar with the issues that we face, and I just wanted to get involved. You're told, be the change that you want to see, and government's a mess. So I thought you got to start small and have a direct impact on the community that I was born in, nothing better than that. As far as mayor goes, mayor was not even on my radar whatsoever. Ken Chamberlain was the mayor the entire time that I was on council. He was, I thought he did an excellent job. He really showed his strength during the tornado, I thought. And so him stepping down kind of caught me off guard. And then he just constantly was nagging at me to throw my hat in the race for mayor. His big pitch was, we need city council experience on there. And I was actually in the other room here at the library, or at the senior center, during an annual retreat. And that's one of those moments where we get together and talk about long-term goals. And we were in the middle of an electric purchasing negotiator discussion. And if you haven't had the experience to sit in on one of those, I mean, it is riveting. And I looked around the room, and it kind of looked like the air had gone out of the room. And the mayor then, Ken Chamberlain, looks over at me and he goes, Cale, this is why you need to run for mayor, because you're engaged even in those tough topics to be engaged in. So he was definitely the final push that got me to throw my hat in the ring.
Okay. Pat, what has inspired you to be involved in city government and to run for this position?
Well, it's something I've always wanted to do. Anybody who knows me, I've said it for years that someday I was going to be the mayor of Wayne, and that would, I remember when Wayne Marsh was the mayor of Wayne. So always something I wanted to do. Similar to Cale, when Ken Chamberlain, who had been the mayor for the last 6+ years, announced that he was moving out of town and stepping down, I had a similar conversation with him because I spent a lot of time at the council meetings. I want to be involved in that process, and decided now's the time for me to throw my hat in the ring as well.
Okay. Pat, we'll start with you on this question. The next 4 years, what is the most important need that Wayne faces as a community over the next 4 years?
Well, a couple of, you want the most important in my opinion?
In your opinion, yes.
I think it's twofold. Grow the population, and in order to do that, we need to have affordable housing. There's something that's preventing our community from growing. There's a lot of people who commute into Wayne every day from the smaller towns around to work on campus or at any of the industries around town. Why are those people commuting in? In my opinion, it's because there are what they consider affordable housing opportunities. And so I would like to grow the population, and doing so by creating or getting affordable housing available to these people.
Okay. Cale, what do you think is the most important issue Wayne faces the next 4 years?
The most important decision that we're going to face in the next 4 years is probably coming right at us, and we just are on the cusp of making that decision, is running another water line out to the well system. People may not know this, but last year about this time, there was a leak on the main water line. And we get almost all of our water from our well field, which is about 5 miles north of town. It's ran back in along the highway in a 16-inch steel pipe. Last year there was a leak on that line at this time. We went out there, we dug it up, and it was pilled when we uncovered it. So we didn't know the extent of that damage, if it was just in that area, if it was all along the entire way. So, we decided to run a second line out there, and we're getting bids on that now. We're gonna need another well anyways. So infrastructure, it's the very foundation of our community. That and our power purchasing decision, those are the biggest expenses that we impose on citizens, and I think they should be at the forefront of the discussion. But I would like to hear more about, talk about affordable housing. It's something that we've been dealing with on the council for 6 years, and if you're comfortable with going a more casual conversation here, or
I'm fine with that. Go ahead.
In the previous council's approach to the affordable housing was to subsidize more housing using primarily TIF financing, a little bit of LBA 40. Now we've got LB 518, which is the workforce housing that was just recently constructed, and that's community-wise. So I have seen people are starting to they're sniffing around on it and going to build, but I don't know, what other solutions do you see for solving the affordable housing problem?
I agree. the workforce housing that came out like April, right?
Yeah.
That is one of the answers, the potential answer. Those projects take time, and you know, we probably haven't even really started to see the development of those houses or housing structures, because it does not necessarily have to be a single family dwelling. But hopefully we can take advantage of that housing or that opportunity to get some housing going. One of the things that I see that really should work in Wayne is we have an excellent assisted living centers, actually 2 of them. We have townhomes around town. We can get people to move into those, if we can get the older people in our community, having a place for them to move into that frees up maybe their multi-level 3 or 4 bedroom home that maybe isn't ideal for them in their senior years, but it would work really well for a young family that's just starting out that might have a couple children.
Yeah, that's the way that towns typically grow, right? Is new growth takes place, everybody kind of moves up one price range. But what's happening in Wayne is this college rental house demand is so high, and I don't know if that's been exacerbated because of the dorms being worked on recently and renovated, that the shortage on campus has pushed people out, or if it's more, the demographics of Wayne State have changed in the last 10 years. Wayne State used to get the majority of its students from Norfolk and surrounding areas, small towns. Now the majority of the students, I think, come from Omaha and the greater Omaha area. When those parents see those rental rates or the housing prices, they think, I'm going to buy a house for my kid in 4 years. I'll put in some equity to it and I'll get something out of it when we move out. So it's not just a matter of building houses, it's a matter of building houses and getting the right people into them, which is, I'm really open to hearing, more ideas on it, but other than straight subsidizing construction and hoping that you get the right people in there. I mean, it's a tough problem. We've been working on it for 6 years while I've been on there. And the council basically threw everything, the previous council basically threw everything at it before. And we ended up with apartments all over town, which I don't know, we can get into that too.
There's a lot, and it kind of ties into my next question a little bit about attracting people to the community, particularly the younger community, younger people in our community. That's really a challenge that small towns like Wayne has to face. I guess Pat, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on as mayor being able to attract more people to the community, particularly like younger people who are looking to call a place home?
Yeah, as the mayor of Wayne, I think one of the things that you really need to be able to focus on and be good at is being a salesman for Wayne, getting the word out there to potential industries, bringing new industries into town. We have some great industries already in town. We're certainly glad we have them. But if we could bring in some new industries to town that might draw in some young families and then keep them once they're here, that would be ideal for me. As the mayor, trying to be the salesman for the community of Wayne, stressing what the college, our relationship with the college brings, and our public school system, and the amenities that we have, and a very strong infrastructure. Cale mentioned it earlier. Water, sewer, electricity, those aren't the same in every community. Wayne is a unique community, certainly because we have Wayne State College, and an excellent infrastructure, a dedicated workforce, and the fact that we're centrally located in northeast Nebraska. We're the hub of northeast Nebraska in my mind, or at least the counties directly around us. And that's what I'd like to see, some additional new industries come to town.
Okay. Cale?
As mayor, I think the first thing that I'd do is really start working with the college to get students involved with community leaders and business owners, because we've got 2 problems here. One, kids go to the big cities because there's jobs there. Our business owners have trouble finding quality hires because there's very low unemployment right now. So we need to get these kids as early as possible interacting with community leaders and business owners and trying to match them up, because there's no reason why we shouldn't be taking first crack at the cream of the crop every year that comes out of Wayne State. You know, we can offer these kids a job before they even graduate. And that's, I think, how you grow the population of Wayne. It's easier to keep them here than it is to get somebody from out of town to come here.
All right. I know that we've got things like the Beaumont that was recently opened, the new pool at the Activity Center, some of the structures that are I think are great drawing cards for the community. Cale, we'll ask you about this. Your thoughts about the mayor collaborating with other entities here in town, like the school, Wayne State College, the county, and trying to come up with ideas for new amenities that can serve as a draw to the community as well in the future.
Yeah, so we're working on this right now. There's actually like a special committee developed for some of the larger amenities in town. But yeah, as mayor, you've got to be focusing on making Wayne an attractive place to live. And that is about the trail and the activity center and trying to draw the kids in with some of those things. The Beaumont is an excellent example. You know, when the Beaumont first came about, I had my reservations because it's a huge project, but man, are we lucky to have that. They are an excellent venue and they bring in some great attractions. Kids love that kind of stuff. And as a young adult, you know, you want to have those special attractions brought in. So if you can just snake right over there in town, lucky to have it. But yeah, that's what the city needs to focus on, is making Wayne as an attractive place to live. Subsidizing construction, yeah, that gets the houses built, but having nice amenities, having an attractive community, that keeps the people in the houses.
Okay. Pat, what are your thoughts?
Well, obviously, the city of Wayne, in my opinion, should never be the developer. But working with these people who have a vision, like the Beaumont and other things, other businesses, they had the vision and they just needed maybe it's a little guidance, maybe it's some financial support. As long as you're making the decision in the best interest of the community, absolutely, I think we can support those things. But again, you need to make sure you're being responsible with the tax dollars, because that's really what it boils down to. Mm-hmm. And those tax dollars come from everyone in the community, not just a few.
Okay. I've pretty much ran out of my list of questions here for this discussion here between Cale Giese and Pat Melena in the race for mayor. We'll get back to them here in just a minute. Wanted to thank our sponsors at Providence Medical Center in Wayne. They are proud to announce the addition of a new surgical procedure that they now offer at the hospital called shoulder arthroscopy. This surgical procedure is for those who have rotator cuff injuries, where the surgeon inserts a tiny camera and the necessary instruments through small incisions in the shoulder rather than doing an open procedure with a large incision. Dr. Joseph Caro specializes in orthopedic surgery for Providence Medical Center. He is the team physician for Wayne State Athletics and also offers his expertise at multiple high schools in the area. For more information, check out Providence Medical Center's website at www.providencemedical.com. That's Providence Medical Center, extraordinary care rooted in compassion. Here on the Voice of Wayne America podcast, our third and final in a series of podcasts surrounding the upcoming elections and the local races here in November. We've already talked with our Ward 4 and Ward 1 candidates, and this time around we're talking to the mayoral candidates, Cale Giese and Pat Melena. And I just want to say before we go into the closing comments here that I think all three races, I don't think you have really. You have two great candidates, is what I'm trying to get to. And there's really a lot of great people in this community who represents the city of Wayne in a variety of areas and in city government. I think the candidates that we have here that are running for these races that we featured here have been are outstanding people and outstanding candidates, and I would really be hard pressed to say one is better than the other at this point, because I think all of them have been fantastic in their efforts to want to be a part of Wayne City government. So I guess with that, we'll start with Cale for a closing comment on.
You want to do closing? You want to talk about more Wayne stuff?
Or do you guys want to talk about more Wayne stuff? Do we have more to talk about?
Yeah. We're here.
All right. Well, I guess let's talk about property taxes, because I know that's an issue that a lot of people are interested in with particularly with the state government and their what they have to do in Lincoln as well. What were your thoughts about property taxes here in Wayne?
Well, no one is ever in favor of raising their property taxes. That's a tough pill to swallow for anybody. But in order to have a first-class city like the city of Wayne and the infrastructure and the things that and the nice things that we have, that does come at a cost. We obviously have those many of those things in place, and there's some other areas that we could work on, but we have to pay the bills. We have to make financial decisions based on the best information out there and for the good of all the people. So being judicious in our spending, and I think people will understand a property tax increase much better if they're okay with what it's funding and the way that our city government is operating and spending their money.
Okay, Cale?
I kind of referenced it in the introduction. It's all about taking a proactive approach to local government because there is a delicate balance as to what amenities you can offer as a city and then keeping property taxes low. In the 6 years that I've been on council, we haven't raised the mill levy on the city side, but that doesn't mean that we're completely innocent because people's valuations are going up and we're keeping it the same. The raiser of the property taxes in the city has been the school. They're the second of three. The airport has a very small asking budget that they have to do for funding reasons. But we're not innocent. We also have those taxes, the hidden taxes of services that we provide: sewer, water, electricity. The electrical fund provides a lot of funding. It's got its fingers throughout the entire budget, and so just got to be diligent about our growth, especially where we grow, how far we extend. And then also just trying to cut down on any frivolous spending that we come across. And we do this every year. If you were to come to a budget workshop, which also is very thrilling, some of the best part of local government. We're going through that thing line by line and asking, why is there an increase here? What happened in this year? That's just part of good government.
All right. One question that did come to mind is we recently celebrated the 5-year anniversary of the, I don't know if celebrate is the right word, but we recently experienced the 5-year anniversary of the tornado. And I know that for me as a local resident, I got to see this community up close and personal in that moment, the way that this community responded to that tornado. And I guess from a mayoral perspective, I think we both agree Ken Chamberlain did a fantastic job in that role. He hit a grand slam home run in the aftermath of all of that. God forbid we ever have something like that happen again. But what are your thoughts on what we have learned from that experience, and how can we I guess apply that if something like that should happen again? If either one of you are named mayor.
I'll take this one first since you did the property tax one. Mayor, with a disaster like that, we learned a lot, from the city council's perspective. We were involved in watching this recovery take place, but there were a few key people. The mayor, Joe Broderson, Hammer was in there. I'm drawing a blank on Harm. I can't remember her first name. Cassie Harm. She was, there was a lot of Liz Brumman, people that were there every day, helping with the recovery. One of the big things we learned is the hotline that was set up. We never tested the hotline, so we were overwhelmed with outreach from citizens trying to help. And that was even when the hotline wasn't working, so I can't even imagine, what would have been if people wouldn't have been leaving messages on this line that went to nowhere, essentially. But we've got a disaster preparation. We've got a disaster plan. Stick with the plan. Trust the city officials who are in charge. They're going to follow that. They're going to reach out and ask for help, and then just apply the help where it's needed.
Okay, Pat?
You're right. 5 years ago we had a devastating tornado, but we learned a lot from it. I think city government learned a lot from it. I think the community in general learned a lot from it. We are better prepared for another natural disaster simply by having lived through it 5 years ago. Having said that, as the role as a mayor, I think you're going to be out there trying to organize things. You're going to have to get information transfer. You've got to get the word out there to television and radio. What's going on? Because phone lines are down, people are wondering, they're going to flip on the news, they're going to flip on the radio, they're going to try to hear what's going on, and as the mayor, that I think is your primary responsibility. And then as Cale said, reaching out to those entities for assistance, whether that's the governor, the National Guard, the fire department in the next town over, and then talking to your functional leaders, your fire chief, your police chief, the hospital. Where are you lacking? What do you need? What can we do for you to help you be more effective in the job that you're tasked with doing? That's the role as the mayor.
All right. Well, guys, I literally have run out of questions on this, and I thank you guys for taking the time out. Let's start with Cale for first closing comment on this mayoral race.
Sure. I've been preparing for this role since I was student body president at Wayne State College. I invested 2 years in the Nebraska LEAD program, learning more about state and national government, as well as critical leadership skills. I've also represented the 3rd Ward as their elected city council member for the past 6 years, facilitating my knowledge and understanding of city government. I've helped lead budget workshops, annual retreats, and well over 100 meetings as a councilman. In the past year, I was also elected as council president by my peers. And this was all in preparation for one day to represent Wayne as mayor. My businesses in town allow me the flexibility necessary to attend critical meetings with city officials during business hours, chamber coffees, community events, and to be accessible to the people of Wayne as needed. On November 6th, please vote. And if I can earn your support, I would appreciate your vote for me as mayor.
Okay. Pat, do you have the final word?
All right. Again, thanks for having us tonight. I hope there's a lot of people out there listening over the next month in preparation. Hopefully they're getting better informed on who they're going to vote for. I think it's important for the people to have choices, and this year they do. And if there's anybody out there that thinks that their vote really doesn't matter, it may not matter when you're voting for the President of the United States, but it certainly matters when you're voting for mayor. There were 3 votes separating Cale and I in the primary. So absolutely, your vote is going to matter. Exercise that right in whichever form necessary, early voting, whatever, or see you in the polls on November 6th. I can't wait for the opportunity to serve as mayor. I want to bring my business and the government experience I have, bring it to the people and do the very best job that I can. I'm confident in my abilities and look forward to serving you.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this podcast here on Voice of Wayne America, and I want to thank our 2 mayoral candidates, Cale Giese and Pat Melena, for taking the time to talk and I guess make their pitch for the top seat in the city of Wayne as we elect our next mayor here on Tuesday, November 6th. And as both Cale and Pat said, get out and vote. Your voice does matter. Your vote does matter. So make sure and get out and vote on Tuesday, November 6th for the candidate of your choice in each of these races. I want to thank all of our candidates for taking the time and being a part of this series of podcasts here on Voice of Wayne America. And we'll have another edition of Voice of Wayne America coming up soon. So check back to WayneAmerica.com for another edition of this podcast. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and we will see you later.